What if a single weapon could strike targets nearly 2,000 miles away, and shake the very foundations of a sprawling nation? Picture a missile that's not just powerful, but capable of reaching deep inside Russia's heartland, far beyond anything Ukraine has wielded before. This is no ordinary missile. This is the Flamingo. Its reveal sent shockwaves through the corridors of power, timed perfectly on the eve of a crucial summit in Washington, D.C., where Ukraine's leaders stood poised to rally global allies. The story began when Evrim Lukatsky, a photojournalist with the Associated Press, shared images that exposed the Flamingo's existence to the world. The timing was no accident. The next day, President Zelensky was arriving in Washington alongside a formidable group of European heavyweights: NATO's Secretary-General Mark Rutte, European Commission's Ursula von der Leyen, Britain's Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Their mission? To secure unwavering support and prove that Ukraine remained a force capable of pushing back against the relentless Russian invasion. The Flamingo is a game-changer. Videos show these missiles launching off rails mounted on twin two-axle trailers, rocketing upward in a sharp climb moments after liftoff. It boasts a striking range of around 1,864 miles and carries a fearsome warhead, tipping the scales at roughly 2,535 pounds. This land-based cruise missile isn't just about brute force, it dramatically extends Ukraine's offensive reach, allowing strikes deeper inside Russian territory with a destructive punch unlike anything seen before. For a country stretched thin, outnumbered and outgunned on the front lines, the Flamingo symbolizes more than technology, it's a message. Against the backdrop of grinding ground battles, Ukraine's nightly onslaught of drone and missile strikes has morphed from a nuisance into a serious strategic threat. Could this missile finally tip the scales in ways that ground battles alone never could? The answer might lie in the deafening roar of the Flamingo's engines piercing the night sky and the ripple of fear it sends across enemy lines. What happens next could reshape the entire conflict. Summary: the emergence of the Flamingo missile significantly boosts Ukraine's offensive capabilities, allowing for deeper strikes into Russian territory, complicating the ongoing conflict. Picture a missile that can reach extraordinary distances. With a range of about 1,864 miles, it transforms the battlefield dramatically. The Flamingo isn't just a step forward, it's a quantum leap. Imagine the explosive force of its 2,535-pound warhead. The sight of it soaring from a trailer, climbing steep into the skies, is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. But this upgrade isn't just about technology. In a war where Ukraine finds itself outnumbered and outgunned, creativity becomes their weapon. Night after night, they unleash swarms of drones and missiles into Russian territory, not just to irritate but to inflict real damage. A series of daring strikes targeted Russia's oil and gas infrastructure in August, effectively shutting down crucial pipelines and cutting oil output by 13.5%. Just think about it, oil and gas comprise 20% of Russia's funding for its military operations. Hurting their economy? Now that's a strategy that resonates. Until now, Ukraine's firepower was limited by its aging arsenal. When Russia invaded back in February 2022, Ukraine relied mostly on two older Soviet-era missiles, the SS-21 Scarab, known as the Tachka, and the Tu-143 Rays. These rockets were essential in the initial stages, with the Tachka achieving fame for sinking the Saratov, a landing ship in Berdyansk, signifying a watershed moment in naval warfare. But can the Flamingo level the playing field? With its revolutionary capabilities, it stands poised to change the dynamics of this relentless conflict. Will it be enough to turn the tide? As the situation evolves, one thing is clear: every day counts, and the stakes are higher than ever. The balance of power may well hinge on the next strike. Stay tuned. The real story has just begun to unfold. Previously, we saw how Ukraine's Tachka missile made waves early in the conflict, notably sinking a major Russian landing ship. Yet, by 2025, those missile stocks have nearly vanished. These weapons had limited reach, between 9 and 75 miles depending on the model, and a precision error margin of up to 500 feet. So, their impact, while significant early on, could not reshape the battlefield at greater depths. In response, Ukraine shifted gears and introduced the Neptune missile, a subsonic anti-ship weapon adapted from an old Soviet design, the SSN-25 Switchblade, also known as KH-35. Think of Neptune as Ukraine's own answer to the American RGM-84 Harpoon missile, both targeting naval and coastal positions. An unforgettable moment came on June 17, 2022, when two Harpoon missiles, or possibly Neptunes, as reports vary, struck and sank the Russian ship Spazitel Vasilibek near Snake Island. A precise strike, yet this missile's range tops out at around 180 miles with a 330-pound warhead, limiting its power and scope. However, Neptune supplies are running low, and so are Ukraine's remaining Soviet-era missiles. By 2023 and 2024, most of Ukraine's missile arsenal came from NATO deliveries. Foremost among these are the infamous HIMARS weapons systems. To clarify, Ukraine primarily operates the M31 Guided Multiple Launch Rocket System, abbreviated as GLMRS, fired from tracked M270 MLRS vehicles. The HIMARS name is often associated with the wheeled version, but the rockets are mostly the same. These M31 rockets hit targets from just under 10 miles all the way out to 43 miles. Their 200-pound high-explosive warhead charges forward at Mach 2.5, a deafening thunderclap in the sky, obliterating Russian gear, radar stations, command posts, and supply lines near the front. Yet, despite such brutal effectiveness, their range falls short of hitting deep targets inside Russia itself. Ukraine's struggle remains: how to punch through layers of defenses and strike at the heart of its adversary, far beyond these weapon ranges? What lies beyond the reach of these missiles? Is there a chance Ukraine's forces could extend their grasp into the very core of enemy territory? A new weapon may be about to change everything, but time is running out to see if it can shift the balance in this brutal conflict. As warfare escalates, Ukraine's arsenal has faced significant challenges. Traditional glide bombs, like the French Hammer, exhibit a range of approximately 43 miles. While these guided 550-pound ordnance can inflict damage effectively, they cannot reach targets deep within Russian territory. This limitation sparks the question: how will Ukraine adapt to an evolving battlefield? Moreover, the US AGM-154 Joint Standoff Weapon, or JSOW, adds another layer to Ukraine's capabilities, with ranges stretching from 12 to 63 nautical miles depending on altitude. Although powerful, this glide bomb fails to reach far into enemy lines, leaving Ukraine vulnerable as it intends to strike further away. What happens when the stakes are this high? In contrast, the British Storm Shadow and its French counterpart, Scalp EG, change the narrative. These true missiles boast a commendable operational range from 150 to 340 miles, packing a potent 1,000-pound Broach warhead. With such firepower, can these munitions turn the tide in Ukraine's favor? The introduction of the US-made M39 Atacms in late 2023 redefines the landscape. With a reach of up to 190 miles and a payload of up to 560 pounds, this weapon has been crucial in striking Russian positions, diminishing their capacity on the battlefield. The question looms: can Ukraine sustain this momentum amid a broader struggle? However, the reality of war is stark. With funding fully allocated to military endeavors, Ukraine relies heavily on foreign aid and loans to manage civilian expenses. As missiles often come with a hefty price tag, sometimes reaching millions, how can a nation under duress find innovative solutions? The response lies in the development of high-performance long-range drones, which provide a cost-effective alternative to conventional missiles. These drones, some of which are considered the best globally, are not only cheaper but also strategically vital, ensuring that Ukraine can maintain pressure on Russian forces. As they evolve and adapt, we're left intrigued: will these aerial innovations shift the balance of power? This story reveals the relentless pursuit of technological advancement in warfare, where innovation becomes indispensable. But with every step forward, the underlying questions about sustainability and strategy linger in the shadows. How will Ukraine continue to navigate this precarious landscape as the fight unfolds? As the conflict continues, Ukraine finds itself needing to adapt rapidly. With resources stretched thin and its existing missile capabilities limited, it has turned to innovative long-range drones. These drones are not only cost-effective but also offer a strategic advantage. In a landscape where conventional missiles can cost a fortune, the development of these aerial weapons is a game-changer. The Ukrainian government has redirected its entire financial focus toward the war effort. This leaves the nation heavily reliant on foreign assistance just to manage daily expenses. In response to this dire need, Ukraine has created an impressive range of long-range strike drones. These drones represent a significant technological leap, especially considering the challenges of wartime production. Over time, their operational ranges have only improved, although they must still contend with the limitations on the weight they can carry. Imagine the tension in the air as a drone takes flight, its engines humming softly against the backdrop of distant artillery fire. The capabilities of these machines are remarkable, but as they soar further into enemy territory, they must balance their payloads carefully. A heavier load can diminish their speed and precision, making them vulnerable to interception. Among the diverse assembly of drones in Ukraine's arsenal, some imports stand out. For instance, the British Dart 250 can carry 55 pounds over 155 miles, while the Banshee Jet 80 Plus is designated for kamikaze-style missions. Ukraine also utilizes Turkish-Pakistani Y-3 drones, although details on their performance remain sparse. The most impressive import, the Swiss-made Destinus Lord, boasts a remarkable range of up to 1,240 miles, lifting a payload of 55 pounds. Despite the foreign assistance, the lion's share of long-range drones is homegrown, designed and constructed in Ukraine. At least a dozen types of long-range attack drones have been documented, along with several prototypes that hint at future capabilities. One such prototype, the Ukrjet UJ-22 Airborne, possesses a classic aircraft design, complete with a tractor propeller and a sturdy build. As night falls over the conflict zone, the routine of drone strikes begins anew. With each drone launch, the Ukrainian forces aim to disrupt enemy operations, dealing damage from hundreds of miles away and asserting their resilience. Can these innovative solutions tip the balance of the ongoing struggle? What events will unfold as both sides grapple for dominance against the backdrop of war? Previously, we explored Ukraine's impressive array of long-range strike drones, especially the In-196 Lutii, nicknamed Fierce, known for its extraordinary reach of up to 1,240 miles. Its power lies not only in range but also in payload, a crucial balance for piercing deep behind enemy lines. But the story takes a surprising turn when we look closer at how this drone and other emerging weapons are reshaping the battlefield and pushing back harder than anyone expected. The Lutii started with a payload around 110 pounds. Now, its capacity has been boosted to nearly 165 pounds. This upgrade isn't just numbers on paper, it's real firepower delivering destruction miles away from Ukraine's borders. On July 26, Lutii drones ruthlessly struck the signal plant in Stavropol. This plant isn't just any facility, it crafts radar and electronic warfare gear, the very tools Russia relies on to blind and confuse its enemies. Imagine those humming machines silenced by silent, precise blows launched hundreds of miles away. The drone's effectiveness is clear, but none of this comes cheap. Each Lutii costs about $200,000 to build, an enormous investment, but one Ukraine is willing to make for a decisive edge. Recognizing this, Germany committed to funding as many as 500 of these fearsome machines. That's a statement in itself, a signal that the international backers are preparing Ukraine for a long fight and believe these drones could tip the scales. But there's more. Germany isn't just supporting drones. It's also bankrolling Ukraine's Bars cruise missile, said to be the nation's first mass-produced missile of its kind. Both weapon systems are already showing up more frequently on the front lines, proving that Ukraine's forces aren't just holding ground but ramping up for a new stage of the conflict. The Bars missile remains shrouded in mystery, but early signs are chilling. This weapon reportedly matches the Lutii's range, yet with a far heavier warhead. And speed? Twice as fast as the drone's modest 199 miles per hour. It's the perfect storm of reach, punch, and velocity, qualities that could allow Ukraine to strike harder and faster, rattling Russian defenses deep inside their territory. The shocking twist? The Bars might soon join the Flamingo as a game-changer in Ukraine's arsenal. While the Flamingo boasts a brutal range of over 1,800 miles, the Bars covers just a third of that distance, but with a payload that could crush vital enemy infrastructure. The stakes couldn't be higher. Another weapon of note, the Sapsan ballistic missile system, known outside Ukraine as RIM-2, once promised to be another breakthrough. However, just days before the Flamingo's reveal, Russia's Federal Security Service claimed it destroyed key stockpiles and production facilities. Targeting the Sumy and Dnipropetrovsk regions, they allegedly wiped out buildings and air defense assets related to the Sapsan's manufacture. Was this a real blow to Ukraine's missile ambitions or a move to cover up something else? The truth remains obscured, but it highlights the relentless shadow war these weapons are part of. What lies ahead could redefine modern warfare. Can Ukraine maintain momentum against a foe that strikes not only on the battlefields but deep inside Ukraine's weapon factories? Will these new weapons change the tide, or will their development be snuffed out before their potential is fully realized? The eyes of the world are watching, waiting to see if this daring gamble will finally give Ukraine the upper hand it desperately needs. Earlier, we discussed how Russian security forces claim to have found and destroyed sites tied to missile production and defense in Ukrainian regions. Now, let's delve into what this means and whether these strikes really hit their intended targets. The visuals released by Russia's security agency show factories and industrial zones engulfed in destruction. Yet, the real question lingers, were these the actual hubs behind the missile system, or just collateral damage painted as victories? The so-called Sapsan missile wasn't just deployed, it had entered full-scale production and was active on the battlefield. It even made headlines for export potential. Officially revealed last June, this missile boasts an impressive reach, a 435-mile operational range. On top of that, it carries a hefty warhead weighing about 1,050 pounds. But where the Sapsan truly stands out is speed. Imagine a projectile tearing through the sky at over 3,000 miles per hour, nearly 5 times faster than commercial jets. This blistering pace makes it nearly impossible to intercept, except by Russia's most cutting-edge air defense systems. Sources suggest this stealthy survivability might also apply to Ukraine's newer Flamingo missile, although their speeds differ dramatically. The Flamingo, crafted by Kiev's Firepoint company, cruises at approximately 590 miles per hour, much slower than the Sapsan. Why? It's heavier, tipping the scales at over 13,000 pounds. For context, that's about 4 times heavier than America's famous Tomahawk cruise missile. While weight slows it down, it also grants a remarkable ability, carrying an enormous warhead over jaw-dropping distances. Firepoint's engineers argue that the Flamingo isn't just another missile. They boldly claim it outperforms the iconic Tomahawk in nearly every way. According to company spokespeople, Tomahawks are outdated, technically inferior and financially burdensome. The comparison is stark. Tomahawk missiles cost upwards of nearly $2 million each after factoring in development and maintenance. If the Flamingo's cost is anywhere near what Firepoint suggests, between $350,000 and $2 million per unit, it could be a game-changer. Could this heavier, slower, yet more devastating missile redefine Ukraine's capabilities? Or is the sheer expense and complexity standing in the way of mass production? And what about those factories the FSB claims to have destroyed? Were they truly critical nodes, or just shadows of an elusive, evolving warfare landscape? The story deepens as we explore how this missile fits into a broader picture of long-range and high-impact weapons that could shift the tide in a conflict where every advantage counts. What does the future hold for Ukraine's arsenal of missiles flying faster, heavier, and farther than ever before? The answer may lie just beyond the horizon, and it's bound to shock many on both sides of the fight. In the heat of conflict, every weapon can change the tide, and Ukraine has just unveiled a potential game-changer, the Flamingo cruise missile. This Titan promises a staggering range that could shift the balance of power. Its cost lies between $350,000 and $2 million, making it an attractive option for a nation with limited resources. But as it climbs through the sky, can it evade the grasp of elusive enemy defenses? Amidst the battlefield's chaos, a partnership is crucial. Ukraine's defense budget is tighter than ever, hinting that collaboration similar to the German BARS arrangement may be essential. Reports suggest the Flamingo may share an uncanny resemblance with the FP5 missile developed by UAE-based Milanion. Could this be a covert collaboration fueled by the UK? The intricacies remain shrouded in mystery, but as each day unfolds, whispers of this alliance grow louder. Ignoring the sheer destructive power of the Tomahawk missile, analysts argue the Flamingo could potentially take the lead. On paper, it surpasses many versions of the Tomahawk, boasting a formidable payload and swifter speed. Yet, there's always a catch. While the Flamingo flaunts impressive stats, a wingspan nearing 20 feet and weighing in at 6 tons, its reliance on basic guidance systems may render it vulnerable in the digital age of warfare. But there's hope, too. Currently, Ukraine's arsenal is diverse and innovative, featuring an array of drones, each designed to pierce deeper into enemy territory. The question looms, will these advancements ensure Ukraine's resilience against a more formidable foe? As the dust settles over previous battles, tension mounts on the horizon. Will the Flamingo secure victory, or will its size and strategy falter in the face of modern combat technology? The outcome remains uncertain, hanging in the balance like the weight of its explosive payload. With every launch, a new chapter in the saga unfolds. In a war where every missile matters,
the stakes couldn't be higher. Ukraine's Flamingo cruise missile is not just another weapon, it might be the key to tipping the balance.
With an impressive wingspan of nearly 20 feet and a hefty launch weight of 6 tons, the Flamingo promises devastating capabilities, but its size also makes it a more visible target.
Will it dominate the skies or get shot down before it can wreak havoc? Imagine the roar of engines, the anticipation in the air.
The Flamingo soars into the chaos, carrying a potent warhead that could change the landscape of battle. But wait, a shocking revelation looms. Despite its formidable range and payload capacity, it has reportedly drawn little attempt to mask its presence. Experts warn it may struggle against cutting-edge defense systems, especially given its simple and straightforward design. Yet, Ukraine has seen dramatic triumphs, attacking Russian installations with relative ease despite facing advanced defenses.
Ukraine's earlier drone strikes may have utilized less powerful missiles. Yet how far can they truly go?
The Flamingo, with its heavy warhead, outshines previous efforts, allowing strikes that are more than just a sting.
Precision isn't enough if the payload isn't potent enough to do substantial damage.
In past strikes like those against Russian refineries, smaller missiles were just inconveniences, halting operations temporarily.
But the Flamingo is a game changer. The ability to strike vital infrastructure could turn a mere operational pause into a catastrophic failure. Picture a fortified drone factory in Yelabuga.
Ramping up production despite previous assaults, a facility so large it could be the very backbone of Russia's drone capabilities. A few Flamingo missiles, however, could obliterate it, making way for a crippling blow to Russian plans.
The most strategic use of the Flamingo might emerge from a combined arms approach.
Picture an array of drones weaving through the skies, decoy drones drawing fire, while Flamingo missiles home in on air defense systems and critical targets.
Will this collaboration create an unbreakable strike force? Only time will tell. With the war unfolding, all eyes remain on the Flamingo. It holds the promise of shifting the balance in Ukraine's favor. As the conflict rages on, the question remains, will it emerge as a harbinger of defeat for Russian forces, or will it succumb to its vulnerabilities and never take flight?
The tension is palpable, and the world watches as this new technological marvel takes its place in history. The previous segment discussed how the most effective use of missiles involves combining various attack and decoy drones to create coordinated strikes. This strategy allows decoys to absorb enemy fire while more potent weapons can target critical infrastructure without opposition. Now, imagine a scene where the heavy Flamingos take flight, their engines roaring as they ascend into the sky. Each missile, packed with devastating power, is primed to unleash chaos on key targets, airfields, factories, transforming the battlefield.
Reports suggest that Ukraine has already deployed the Flamingo, but details remain scarce. Questions loom large: how many exist? What destruction have they caused, and can they truly change the tide of the war?
One fact stands out: if the Flamingo fulfills its promise, it might just present Vladimir Putin with a new and severe set of challenges to grapple with. The looming uncertainty adds an exhilarating tension to the narrative, as observers await updates on this game-changing weapon.
The fate of many hangs in the balance, and each day could reveal new developments in this ongoing conflict. How will the Flamingo reshape the dynamics between these two nations? The answer remains murky, waiting for the next chapter to unfold in this high-stakes drama.
In the shadows of war, a potent force is emerging, and its name echoes ominously through the fields of conflict: the Flamingo missile.
Fast, powerful, and striking deep into enemy territory, this new weapon in Ukraine's arsenal is not just a game-changer, it's a harbinger of potential victory. After extensive development, the Flamingo was unveiled just before critical talks between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and US President Donald Trump, signaling Ukraine's undying resolve against the looming Russian threat. As leaders gather in Washington, what impact will this missile have on the power dynamics of the war?
With a staggering range of approximately 1,864 miles and a devastating warhead weighing around 2,535 pounds, the Flamingo represents a giant leap forward in Ukraine's offensive capabilities.
Imagine the shockwaves reverberating as it takes off from its trailer, racing skyward, ready to strike.
As Ukraine seeks to defend its land against overwhelming Russian advances, every threat to enemy infrastructure, especially oil and gas pipelines, sends tremors of anxiety through the Kremlin. It's reported that Ukrainian strikes have already crippled vital supply routes, causing significant losses that undermine Russia's war machine. Previously, Ukraine's missile options were limited and much less effective against the vast expanses of Russia. As they scrambled to adapt and innovate, the Flamingo provides that pivotal technology needed to shift the tide.
What happens when the hunter becomes the hunted? With its ability to outmaneuver and outrange, Ukraine is now poised to threaten the heart of Russia itself.
On the front line, where every minute counts, the Ukrainian forces employ a diversity of weapons, from the nimble drones to heavyweight missiles.
Yet, they faced formidable challenges, often outgunned despite their fierce defense.
But as the Flamingo, as well as other long-range drones like the Invulnerability, joins their ranks, the potential for disruption grows exponentially.
Could these technological marvels transform the battlefield, bringing the fight closer to Moscow? The Lutii, revered for its extended reach, showcases Ukraine's remarkable ingenuity.
With capabilities spanning from 620 to 1,240 miles, it's a clear signal that Ukraine is determined to extend the conflict deep into enemy territory.
In this race for technological superiority, the questions linger: how will Russia respond? And will Ukraine be ready to face the fallout of intertwining advanced weaponry with strategic plans? As this relentless struggle continues, the stakes couldn't be higher.
The very fabric of warfare is being rewritten, and each innovation transforms the options for both sides.
Can the Flamingo missile truly change the trajectory of this conflict, or is it merely a temporary spark in a protracted struggle for freedom?
The truth lies in the ever-unfolding drama of the battlefield, where courage collides with technology, illuminating the path forward in unimaginable ways.
In the heart of modern warfare, a revolution is taking place.
With a range that stretches across the vast expanse of Russia, an unprecedented aerial force is emerging from Ukraine, the long-range strike drones. Among them, the Ekrjet UJ-22 Airborne stands out with its efficient light aircraft design. Picture a powerful machine, with a tractor propeller at the front, gliding silently through the air. Capable of carrying significant payloads, it can strike targets over 375 miles from the Ukrainian border, delivering chaos and destruction where it matters most.
But the UJ-22 is just a part of a larger picture. The Aeroprakte 22 Foxbat unmanned aerial vehicle has been ingeniously transformed into a loitering munition.
Imagine a duo of pilots reclaiming the skies, only to hand control over to a drone that can travel up to 620 miles. This remarkable aircraft was responsible for the devastating strike on an important Russian drone manufacturing plant in Yelabuga, Tatarstan, back in April 2024, a staggering distance of over 800 miles from the Ukrainian front lines.
Yet, are these bulky drones too easily spotted?
Their size, combined with slower speeds and telltale sounds, makes them vulnerable to enemy defenses.
That is why Ukraine has tapped into state-of-the-art jet technology.
Enter the UJ-25 Skyline, a fierce, jet-powered loitering munition designed to adapt and overcome. With a potential strike range nearing 500 miles and a payload that packs a punch, it exemplifies the evolution of strike patterns. Then, there's the UJ-26 Bober.
With its elegant canard design and inverted tail, it leaves a striking silhouette against the sky, and with a range pushing 620 miles, it has set its sights on Moscow itself. But the crown jewel of Ukraine's arsenal is the In-196 Lutii, an aircraft that embodies resilience and innovation.
With capabilities to range from 620 to 1,240 miles, it brings a fierce intensity to the battlefield, posing an unyielding threat that echoes across enemy lines. But what does the future hold? As Ukraine continues to develop these incredible machines, one must ponder: will they redefine the possibilities of warfare, or will they provoke an even deadlier arms race? The stakes could not be higher, and the battlefield is now defined by technological prowess. This evolution is a tale worth following, as the winds of war change dramatically each day.